If you want to write good, read good. I'm Daniel Whittington. I'm Chancellor of Wizard Academy and Whiskey Marketing School. Welcome to the Whiskey Vault. It's raining outside. You're going to hear it on the mic. There's nothing I can do about that. The rain metal platform that the water hits is on the other side of this wall. So, Roy Williams, founder of this entire campus and the school, he used to say, when I first got here, I heard him say this all the time in class, and it was, if you want to be a good writer, stop reading. And it sounds like it's, of course, but yeah, it's surprising how much we sort of miss that. And this is kind of a short bit today, but he said, often when you spend your time reading writing, then you feed your brain writing, and then you go to sit down, you cannot possibly expect to all of a sudden transform into writing really amazing, unique, and beautiful things. Because what you've just been feeding your brain is. Now, what I mean by is poor writing. Oh man, we're the worst at this. Poor writing for the writing that you hope to create. So, if you plan on only writing tech manuals for your life, then yeah, sure, read a whole bunch of tech manuals. You'll get real good at how they flow, and then you'll be able to write tech manuals. If you want to be a great journalist, read good journalism, right? But if you want to be a good ad writer and a good communicator and tell things in sort of an unexpected way and use phrases that are colorful and a bit catch people by surprise and make them sit up and pay attention, the wrong thing to do is spend your whole life absorbing social media and blogs and science journal articles and all the nerd products that a lot of us whiskey people like to read, right? So you're going to read a 5-page article about the science behind the construction of a 3-chamber still. That's great. That's not going to make you a great ad writer. And so if all throughout your day, all you do is feed your brain Instagram, Facebook, blogs, news articles, and facts books about whiskey, then when you sit down to write magical things and advertise and marketing, you're just going to spout. So, what do? The answer is you read a lot more fiction, well-written fiction, right? And you read poetry. Roy used to always say, if you want to really make a great ad writer, then start reading more poetry. Poetry is the art of condensing huge, big ideas down into smaller, more bite-sized pieces, and to use an economy of words to portray a massive amount of human emotion and story and connection with simple phrases and callbacks to things and a unique lens into something in a way you've never thought of it before. Right? That's what great ad writing is. And so you're actually practicing great communication by reading great poetry. Take big ideas, shrink them into smaller, more containable pieces, right? And I sort of naturally ended up decent at ad writing, I learned after I first got here. I think it was because I spent so much of my career writing songs, which is no different, right? It is poetry, or it can be poetry anyway. I don't know if, Baby Shark is poetry, but, it's poetry to somebody. So, what I'm going to do is just tell you, read more poetry. That's the fastest way to get better at, just in general, more interesting turns of phrase, is just read good poetry. I have got a few. I'm going to read you a couple just for fun at the end of this. It might get this thing copyright striked and pulled down at some point, but I've asked them for permission, I couldn't get anybody to reply. If you want to know where to start, because that's always a helpful thing, I cannot tell you to go buy something because this is a nonprofit channel, but I can tell you that one of my favorite books that offers a really broad introduction to a great collection of a bunch of different poets is Garrison Keillor's Good Poems. It's a great book. Another one I really love is the series called A Poem a Day, and they have Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3, and you can literally just put it for bathroom reading, or put it by your bedside for before you go to bed, or first thing when you wake up in the morning. And instead of waking up and picking up your phone, maybe wake up and pick up the book and read a poem, and then go about your day. Now, let's talk Buchanan's. Buchanan's is old school, man. This is like Not only does the blend itself date back to 1800s, and James Buchanan, who was one of the original family, one of the guys, it was Buchanan's, it was the Walker family, it was the Dewar's family, it was the Chivas brand. These are all the earliest Scotch blends, and James Buchanan was famous for the stuff that he did to put blended Scotch on the map and the name Buchanan's. He's also the guy who invented the black and white blend, which was, I think, even a Parliament whiskey at one point. Anyway, this is an old brand, and it looks it. I mean, you look at that bottle, and it sort of looks like, here's what's weird about this bottle. There's a lot of work went into this, right? And you've got your seal, you've got your engraved embossed, you've got the green, and it's kind of a classic label. But because it's so old and so classic and so around, it also kind of looks like some of the bottles you buy in a liquor store where someone went to a lot of effort to make a cheap whiskey not look cheap. And so I happen to like this whiskey as a budget blend, which it is, right? But I know a lot of people who react viscerally to like, oh, that bottle, that's old, boring, cheap budget whiskey. So I would say if you haven't had Buchanan's in a while, it might be worth it to try taking a dram of it next time someone's willing to buy it for you. Oh, in the nose, it has way more fruit than most blends that you'll find, I think, most budget blends. It is not just vanilla, it's not just cream. There's a lot of papaya, almost pineapple, and then it's drenched in vanilla and like cream and berries. All light fruits, a little bit of maltiness, a slight hint of ash sort of hovering around the edges. But the nose is really nice. And it doesn't suffer from too much of that budget malt, sour funk note that you can get in some blends. The ashiness that creeps in around the edges in the nose sort of threads right down the dead center in the palate. And so it sort of cuts a wedge of ashiness right into the middle of all the fruit on the palate. The nose is superior to the palate. But I do think if I was somewhere and the only whiskey they had, airplane or at a hotel bar, I'm at an event, and they had Buchanan's 12, I would be like, yeah, done, absolutely. I don't know that I would seek it out, but I wouldn't be disappointed to drink it. Talk about death by faint praise. I don't really mean it that way, but for a blend, it's a great whiskey. Okay, so I'm going to finish by just reading you two poems, because that's how today's going to go. First is Tony Hoagland, and if you've not heard of Tony Hoagland, do yourself a favor, go find Tony Hoagland. And this is a poem that sort of landed heavy with me the other day, like years ago, and it's been sticking in my head ever since. It's the reason I started buying all the other Tony Hoagland books, because this was on a poem book collection, and I went and found Tony Hoagland because of it. It's called There Is No Word. There isn't a word for walking out of the grocery store with a gallon jug of milk in a plastic sack that should have been bagged in double layers, so that before you are even out the door, you feel the weight of the jug dragging the bag down, stretching the thin plastic handles longer and longer, and you know it's only a matter of time until bottom suddenly splits. There is no single unimpeachable word for that vague sensation of something moving away from you as it exceeds its elastic capacity, which is too bad because that is the word I would like to use to describe standing on the street, chatting with an old friend, as the awareness grows in me that he is no longer a friend but only an acquaintance, a person with whom I have never made the effort until this moment when, as we say goodbye, I think we share a feeling of relief, a recognition that we have reached the end of a pretense. Though to tell the truth, what I already am thinking about is my gratitude for language and how it will stretch just so much and no farther, how there are some holes it will not cover up, how it will move, if not inside, then around the circumference of almost anything, and how over the years it has given me back all the hours and days and all the plotting, love, and faith, all the misunderstandings and secrets I have willingly poured into it. And I'm going to finish with another poem on the opposite end of the spectrum. I'm going to read you Shel Silverstein. if I had a brontosaurus. If I had a brontosaurus, I would name him Horace or Morris. But if suddenly one day he had a lot of little brontosauri, I would change his name to Lori. Shel Silverstein, Where the Sidewalk Ends. I don't know if it's in that book specifically, but read more poetry. Cheers to you. I'm really glad you're here. If you love poetry, you should follow the Poetry channel. And after you're done with them, you can like and subscribe and watch some more of our episodes.